Norton on Esper control, splashing black for Fatal Push, S3 Esper Charms, Dragon Lord Silumgar, Lingering Souls.
Esper Charm's not the worst, but I gotta say, on paper, it's always felt better than it should be. It always felt like it should be better against me than it is when I play against it.
Right.
Tony is up a game. You see Nikolic here with 2 Planeswalkers, though. Tends to be an advantage.
Right, and so we're all eyes on the clock here. If we head to game 3, it's going to be a close one.
Yes.
Jace and Teferi in control for Nikolic. He's down to 15 now. Esper doesn't play too much burn. It's a transformed Azcanta, however, on Norton's side. Nikolic will... Looks like Spell Queller hits the Mind Sculptor down to 1. Detention Sphere on Teferi going to be the play. So maybe Tony Norton can control this board. Ben only has 1 card in hand, so he hasn't been gotten too out of hand with the Planeswalkers.
Yeah, Tony contained that pretty quickly. Looked like the Spell Queller fought over a negate.
Yeah.
And then he was able to Detention Sphere that Teferi right down.
Think twice from Nikolic. So he does get to untap with the Jace. However, Norton has an Azcanta, which Nikolic does not.
Right. And looking at life totals, Nikolic is at 9 to Norton's 14.
Well, Jace draws him some pretty big haymakers. Now picking up an Elspeth, a Lightning Helix. Looks like some counterspell, a Cryptic Command as well, or an Electrolyze, rather.
A little bit of an awkward spot with Negate under the Spell Queller, just because you really want to be able to get your spell back. You want to find yourself in a position where Tony casts something, you kill the Queller, and you get the Negate.
That's really hard to make work.
Right, especially because you have to protect your Jace the Mind Sculptor on one.
So here's Search for Azcanta. I guess what you do is if you hold up your Lightning Helix in the middle of a counter war, you can Helix his Queller.
Right.
You know?
And it's you're defending that 1 card that Negate, whereas you give up protecting your Jace from the Spell Queller.
It says go. Tony activating Azcanta finds Teferi. Nikolic now going to Vendilion Click. All right. Snapcaster, Surgical Extraction, Teferi are the cards in Norton's hand.
2 pretty good cards in the Surgical Extraction.
Yep. That was my thought as well.
Yeah, the Surgical could matter if we deal with the Snapcaster Mage down the line. But Snapcaster is repping some counter spells here. Cryptic Command, Dispel, Logic Knot, all that stuff's very good. And Teferi is just a very high impact card. And yeah, and there goes the Teferi. The Click does get to block the Spell Queller. That forces some action. There is a Path to Exile in Norton's graveyard. He wants to get aggressive about it. You could just Snapcaster Mage that Path to Exile, get that Click out of the way, Spell Queller down that Jace. Then you're in a position where Nikolic has no Planeswalkers. You have active Azcanta the Sunken Rune. Though Nikolic will have his own shortly.
Serum Visions from Norton. It's going to be hard for him to come back from this one. Not impossible. Field to ruin the play. Snapcaster Mage. Options in the graveyard. Looks like Path to Exile, Cryptic Commands. He's going to path away the Vendilion Click. And Ben gets to convert this negate under the Spell Queller, as the player is mentioning.
Yeah, there's the Lightning Helix. The Vendilion Click allowed him to do this in a way that actually protects his Jace. We'll see if Tony can produce another counterspell. He will need it here.
Yeah, and if this works, then Snapcaster Mage will take down the Jace. A lot of things to like here. But if Tony loses this counter war, Jace gets to brainstorm again.
He's looking at 4 cards with that Azcanta. Looks like Jace and Lingering Souls are the options available.
Great cards, but not great right here.
Mm-hmm.
He'll take Lingering Souls.
Yeah, with the Spell Queller going down, Tony really won't be able to protect his Jace. You could use the Lingering Souls to punch through and pressure Nikolic's Jace.
And I'm interested on Tony's side whether he wants to... yeah, he's probably still close enough in that he needs to try to win this one.
Right.
Azcanta, though, transforming on Nikolic's side, he is pulling ahead. Jace brainstorms. Finds Elspeth, Logic Knot, Electrolyze. Still great cards on top. And Nikolic will go for Elspeth Sun's champion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Elspeth leaving up Logic Knots. Pretty good on this window.
Yeah, I like it a lot here. So now we'll get 3 1-1s. 2 Planeswalkers, they're going to be protecting each other here. Also, Nikolic has Azcanta mana still up.
Right. Now, the Lingering Souls that Nikolic knows about, that's not a big deal. Not really worth Logic Knotting there, but this Elspeth can erase that very effectively. Yeah, puts pressure on Norton to have multiple other things that matter. Looks like an Esper Charm was picked up. With Nikolic on 1 card in hand, you might see Norton wait until his draw step and try to make him discard 2.
Okay.
But his hand seems to need some help. He's just choosing to draw 2 cards.
Sure, drawing to off the Esper Charm. And he does have Field of Ruin for that Azcanta. Nikolic might just let that one go. He's pretty far ahead, may not want to take down counter magic, and that's exactly what he'll do.
Yeah, if the leftover is Logic Knot, and I assume it is, having that on this turn, right. Especially because he's just untapping, he has the go-ahead to be able to activate Jace the Mind Sculptor. He's producing extra cards and is defending with the Logic Knot. Okay, another extra Esper Charm was picked up for Norton.
Lingering Souls from Norton. Get some 1-1s.
Yeah, and he kind of has to go for Lingering Souls here. He has to start attacking these Planeswalkers.
Yeah, going for both halves. So 4 1-1s. See Nikolic really speeding up here.
Yeah, those Spirit Tokens, they cover the Vanillion Click very well. Not so much Elspeth plus these Soldier tokens.
Right. The Elspeth emblem, if not answered, is going to be what will end this. Or even just Soldiers tokens attacking.
Yeah, even if the Spirit tokens just wear the Elspeth down, just a bunch of 1-1s are going to be pretty good.
Electrolyze takes care of 2 of the souls. Looks like tokens are going to attack.
It's like 2 Logic Knots left over for Nikolic.
I wonder, he's got a huge graveyard going. Is it enough to make them both hard counters in the same turn? I think so.
Yeah, it kind of depends on how much mana Norton invests, but it looks like he has more than enough.
And makes more soldiers. Colonnade can actually play defense for his Jace as well, as he says, go, we're back to Tony Norton.
Nikolic has enough mana where he can invest some mana into the Logic Knots as well.
Esper Charm for Tony again. Drawing 2.
Yeah, and he's behind and he knows it. He can't be using those Esper Charms to make Nikolic discard cards, and because of that, these counter spells should be able to cover whatever Norton draws.
Sure.
There is a Celestial Colonnade hanging out in Nikolic's lands there, though I suppose firing that up would be lethal, but it's a huge mana investment. Not enough incentive to go for that, especially because you kind of play into a Cryptic Command tapping your team. That's not something you want to care about countering.
Tony finding Cryptic Command off that Azcanta. 6 minutes remaining in the round. So we're still in game 2. Tony is up a game, but he is struggling to hold on here.
Yeah, needs something to clean up all of these tokens and the Elspeth. It's going to mean combining a sweeper effect with some kind of just hard answer, a detention sphere, Teferi for the Elspeth.
Yes, says go. We go back over to Ben.
Now he's going to use Cryptic Command to block here. Nikolic can either fight over this with those Logic Knots or just fire up Celestial Colonnade. Get a count on mana. You might be able to just do both of those things.
We'll start with Negate. Let's just go there.
Okay, you should have more than enough counterspells with Negate also being part of the picture.
Dispel on Tony's side. It's going to be Logic Knot, Delving. Well, there's 6 mana up, so he has to delve away 7.
He has more than enough for that, though.
Delve 7, so we'll see if Tony Norton counters back. Negates back again.
Modern Open players, that is time in the round. Please finish the current turn and then pick up to 5 additional turns.
And plenty of graveyard left over for this other Logic Knot for Nikolic to fight more again.
Yeah, he actually has 2 more Logic Knots. Here's Snapcaster on, I believe, Negate, and then he can Logic Knot again.
Oh yeah, that Snapcaster is definitely more than enough. That's going to force another point of interaction.
Surgical Extraction from Tony.
And Nikolic knew about that one.
Logic Knot delving away the Negate. Snapcaster Mage on Dispel from Tony. He wins the counter war, I believe.
Okay, so he gets to not die this turn.
Tap draw is successful.
And now he's out all kinds of counter spells.
Elspeth makes more creatures.
Yeah, there's no more than Elspeth that plays around all the tokens getting swept.
We're out of Elspeth tokens. There's so many. Tony looks Azcanta, top 4. Does he have a sweeper? Did he keep a Supreme Verdict in?
Another Detention Sphere would be probably what he's
No,
looking for.
now he picks up the cards.
There's just one Detention Sphere in the main deck.
Well, he won the battle but lost the war on that counterfight. And 1 game apiece. This clock is accurate. It's 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Can either player win in this amount of time? I am not sure.
It involves one of them missing land drops, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I don't believe either of them have brought Geist of St. Traff to battle.
No, they have not. No, there's no creatures.
The closing speed on these decks is just not very high, and both of these decks are going to put up a fight. There's going to be long turns involved in games where both decks are functioning. So that kind of means that one of them has to not function to realistically close a third game. Now you can get into a position, this is day 1 of a tournament where draws are as good as losses, where maybe one player pulls ahead enough for the other player to concede. I'd be pretty surprised to see an actual conclusion, though.
All right, we'll see if we can do it. Nikolic on the or Tony Norton rather on the play, having lost that game number 2. And here we go. Starting off trading lands for both players. No turn 2 search from Tony. We'll see if Nikolic can make one. He does not. And they both know it. They're going for this as fast as they can. But yeah, 2:10 remaining. It's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the sorts of plays that you have to make that close the matchup are often objectively just bad. You know, the aggressive Snapcaster Mage, where you're playing against a deck with either Electrolyze or Lingering Souls that's just going to shrug it off in a game that actually is played correctly.
And Tony Norton's going to go ahead and use his Field of Ruin on that Colonnade.
Perhaps the situation is that this unlocks Tony's 3rd blue mana. If he had another colorless or non-blue land here, that would make Cryptic Command live.
Sure. Seeing 4th land in a pass. No. I mean, this is the kind of situation where players would be jamming threats if they had them. The problem is their decks just don't have that.
Yeah. There was a period where Jeskai Control specifically would sideboard some number of Geist of St. Traff, so if you had to go fast, you could do it. There's just kind of too many decks that's not good against. You have to do too much with your sideboard. Modern extremely diverse right now. Also, assuming that you're able to play your match to conclusion, you had pretty upgraded closing power with the introduction of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
Yeah, one thing I actually like about what Tony Norton's doing in these control mirrors, Esper Charm looking really good, both as an end-step draw to, and actually it's just being a removal spell for Search for Azcantas.
Yeah, destroy target enchantment. That's going to come up.
You see here, Vendilion Click from Tony. It's a threat, but it's just not going to stick. Nicklich with the trigger on, he's going to kind of electrolyze it away, and that clock is correct at the top.
You could see a fight over the Electrolyze.
Could.
Given that the game's unlikely to involve much else, I would expect to see it. And yeah, Tony's going to fetch in response. Dispel, Negate, Logic Knot, these are all things that he could have. With just grabbing one fetch land there. I imagine Dispel.
Yeah, Dispel for the Electrolyze. He have hit time. We will confirm where turn 0 is.
Yeah, this is still Nicklich's end step.
Okay, so that means Norton will be turns 1, 3, 5. Path to Exile on the Vendilion Click. There's another Dispel on Tony's side. Sure. That's only
this
3
is amazing.
hits.
You would just never do this in an untimed match, but he's looking at blocking for that Vendilion Click.
But Pathier Click, Dispel that path.
I don't want to land. I want a 3/1 creature.
oh, yeah. And Nicholas says, hey, I can't win. Here's my hand.
And it's just a bunch more answers to Vendilion Click, including a Supreme Verdict.
I'm going to kill that, by the way. That Vendilion Click's. Here we go. All right. It takes away the Snapcaster Mage. So, Tony's turn 1.
And there's a Cryptic Command in the leftovers. He's going to go to work with the Vendilion Click.
All right, Tony hits Ben down to 15. Ben's turn. As you mentioned, there's a couple answers to Vendilion Click in here.
Yeah, the very easy one involves just Field of Ruin to get a second white source, uncounterable Supreme Verdict.
We have, are we going for end-step Snapcaster Esper Charm? I think we are.
It looks like it.
That's going to get Logic Knotted.
Against land, Supreme Verdict, 2 unknowns. That's worth fighting.
So Ben, Tony's negating back, but once you negate back, then you're not even doing anything with the Snapcaster.
Well, you see, you get to have a 2/1 creature.
I see. Okay, Tony's on turn 3. Swings for 2. Ben back to 16. He did gain 3 off that Helix.
I want to say that Tony's picked up another threat. He certainly has been sitting on a Cryptic Command.
Ben's turn 4. He's not going to win on turn 4. He says go. It's another click on Tony's side. It's a click on Ben's side, too. Path. Ben's running out of blockers, but not... Tony can't deal 16.
Right. So sometimes when you get in this position, maybe the Jeskai deck has just an outrageous number of lightning bolts in hand, but Esper has no such ability. And
that's the handshake.